Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Famvestor Podcast. I'm your host, Sunny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunmarie Burns.
So today we are talking Turo. So Turo is like Airbnb for cars. So instead of, renting out a space, you have an extra car, you can rent that out to anyone who'd like to use it. Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about our week.
Yeah, we've had a really exciting week of firsts with our kids.
First time, our eldest especially, he's just taking off his floaties and able to swim.
Yeah, he's learning how to swim. He can swim from one side of the 18-foot pool to the other side, and that's really exciting and reassuring that he's taking a liking to the water and learning how to swim.
And we just took off his training wheels for the first time. He's 5, so it's probably a little on the later end anyway, but I think, he was ready for it probably a couple of months back. But we took him off, and then that first day he was able to kind of get on and
now he could just go. It's amazing how quickly kids learn. I'm just in awe of that. You think, oh, they're going to need time for this. And nope, within a matter of hours, they got it.
Yeah. And we had a town-wide garage sale last weekend, which was really fun.
That was fun.
And we picked up a bunch of great stuff. You got like a $500 stroller for $15. So that was a jogging stroller. So we went jogging as a family. Valen was on his bike and the rest of us were pushing our strollers and be one of those families. But anyway, it was fun. We've got a wood chipper for like $20.
Yep.
So going to be doing some work with that. Valen and Alvin got this great Hexbox kit. I don't know if you guys remember those little nanobots that vibrate and move around like a track. So they've been having fun with that. And they got Battleship, which has been fun. I don't think they really know how to play correctly, but
they're starting to grasp it.
Starting to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's encouraged Valen to, try to make more money and save more money. We've been doing a money system. I'm going to go into that in one of those episodes where we have jars. I'm sure everyone have heard of the save, spend, give jar. We added another 4th jar, family contributions in there. And they gain 1% interest off their savings account. So currently, they've made a lot of money from like birthdays and stuff. It's ridiculous. Our 3rd child has nothing, but our 1st child got like $600. Second child, I think a little less, like $400. But 1% interest a month is what we're giving them. So on $600, that's $6 a month that he gets on interest. So this is a Bank of Dad, gives him 1% interest.
Yeah, a good way for him to learn how to save and spend judiciously.
Yeah, and at first we were going to kind of dictate, hey, you got to put 40% towards savings. But I think now we're kind of, giving him the $6 and we give it to him in quarters and then he allocates, okay, I'm going to give this much to the gift jar, this much to the family, this much in my savings, and this much in my checking. And after we went to that garage sale days, putting more money towards checking because he only had like $2 or something to spend at the garage sale. But anyway, it's been interesting. So without further ado, let's get to the episode.
You're listening to the Famvestor Podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
So I've been excited to share about this episode for a while. So for the last 6 months, like pretty much since January 2020, I've been renting out our 3rd car. So back in January or December, we bought our minivan. We were expecting our 3rd child. We had a road trip to Florida. I don't know. Is that why we bought it? Anyway, the 3rd child was the main reason we bought it. And we didn't think we could fit 3 car seats across in our Honda Fit. Well, we actually can. You do have to jam the door closed, but you can fit it.
We did figure out you can fit it. So for those of you who like your compact car and you want to try with 3 kids, it is possible.
Right. No booster either. It's not a booster. We have 3 legitimate car seats.
Yeah.
And they fit.
But it's not very comfortable, I would say.
Like you literally are jamming the door closed.
Yeah.
Hands in your laps. Boom.
Yeah. But I mean, it'll work if you need to make it work. But definitely having a minivan is
the minivan's
so
great.
Much nicer. The space that you have to
taking fridges, taking couches, taking
carry
everything.
Lots of stuff and have plenty of room for your kids. It's been great.
I had 3/4 of a ton of trash in there 2 weeks ago, or a week ago. We dumped it in the town dump.
Yeah. We were doing yard cleanup and all this bricks and building debris that was there, and we just hauled it over to the town dump, and it was impressive to know the van could carry that much.
They weigh you on the way in and weigh you on the way out, and it was 3/4 of a ton, so that was a lot of weight. The wheels, the suspension system, you could see it.
Yeah,
it's probably about its
That's
max
not
capacity.
To make a habit of that, I guess.
Anyway, so we got the minivan, which we love, and we were like, what do we do with this third car? You know, my Toyota Yaris, which I loved, you know, had like around 105,000 miles at the time, 2009, roll-up windows. Anyway, it was a good car. You know, the engine, I feel like, is going to last forever. I'm like, I could sell it, but, you know, Kelly Blue Book's telling me $3,500. Maybe I can get a little more, $4,000 for it. I don't know. But
for such a good car, it's a shame to let it go.
Right. So I was like, okay, you know, I've heard about this thing called Turo where and there's other services too other than Turo, but the same thing where you rent out your vehicles, other people use them, and you know, gain some kind of passive income from it. So I've been doing that for the last 6 months, and it's gone really, really well. It was slow during the COVID time, but it's picked up in the last month and a half, almost back to like where it was. And I even had I had a person rent my car, my Toyota Yaris, with roll-up windows for 80 days. You know, as a medical student who was flying in, and she needed her car during her residency for 80 days. You know, and she was going to pay me $30 a day to rent my car. Here I'm going to share my screen, show you my Turo. This is my listing, you know, my 2009 Yaris. You can rent it for $35 a day. And, you know, Turo kind of is, you know, you're thinking, like, why not go to, like, a rental car agency like a Hertz or an Enterprise, or what else is out there? Anyway, why not go there? Turo kind of made their name with, like, niche cars, like you could rent a Tesla or something fancy instead of a lame Ford Focus from a rental car company. But people also, you know, use the service. Maybe they want to be, you're closer than a rental car agency would be. Or I don't really know really why. Like, I've had people like drive 40 miles to get to my rental car, and I'm just like, why did you do that? But anyway, they rent it, and it goes. It's pretty consistent.
Maybe there's less fees?
Maybe less fees. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty cheap. You know, it's like $35, and I think that's pretty much it, unless they want to get additional insurance coverage.
So let's talk a little bit about how Turo works. I myself am not super familiar with it, so, you know, I figured maybe I'll ask you to walk us through it. You know, let's say I want to rent a car on Turo. What goes down? What do I have to do? Do I just put in the location, find a car? How does it work?
Yeah, so if a user's looking, they just go onto Turo.com and they say, you know, I'm flying into Newark Airport, or you know, I'm visiting my friend who lives around this area, and I want access to a car. So let's just type in like the airport, or type in the address, and you'll see a map of where all the cars is, the dollar amount it's going to cost you per day to rent.
Does it look kind of like an Airbnb type of a map where you can sort of see the area and where the cars are?
Yep, that's exactly it. So here's Cancun, because we're going to go to Mexico soon. And you can just see a map of, you know, locations, and there's a $25 a day car. There's the ratings and things like that, $20 a day. So all sorts of things will come up, and you give the dates of availability, because like right now my car is being loaned out, so you can't rent it while it's being loaned out, so you wouldn't see it pop up. But yeah, that's how it works.
Okay, cool. And when someone wants to book it, what sort of information do they put down? Is it an instant book where they book it and then it's an automatic thing? Do you need to pre-approve them?
So you can set it like Airbnb, you can set it to, you know, instant book, which is preferred, or to pre-approve, you know, they apply and then you say yes or no. I have it on instant book, so yeah, they can book it. And, you know, like Airbnb, everything's very similar to Airbnb. You have like a calendar where you can say, okay, no, it's blocked for this day and this day, I don't want to rent it. So there's all those tweaks you can make to personalize it. You can give instructions like, hey, this is how you pick up the keys, so you don't necessarily be there. And this is where I want you to park the car. For me, it's very simple. I say, you know, just pick it up off the street. Cars are going to be in this location. Just pick it up and go. And I don't have to physically meet you.
Do you have to rent for a certain amount of days typically, or it varies?
Yeah, you can restrict it to say, hey, minimum length of this. I'd say you can have it for a day. It doesn't matter. It seems very often, people will extend their trip a day, 2 or 3.
So now let's talk about it from an owner's perspective. Let's say you own a car and you're interested in listing it on Turo. What are the requirements?
Yeah, so your car has to be, newer than 12 years old, and it has to be less than 30,000 miles. So as long as it meets those 2 requirements, you can list the car on Turo. So 12 years old has to be a 2008 or newer at this time of this recording. So my car was a 2009, check. My car had 105,000 miles, check. So as long as it meets those 2 requirements, you're golden. So pretty much you just go on the Turo website, take some pictures of your car. I had it professionally detailed actually, so I just found a Groupon for a detailing service and got it detailed, took some nice pictures, and then pretty much put it on Turo and started renting it. It took me I rented it within the first week, and it pretty consistently rents. I'd say it's probably rented 60-70% of the time, which is pretty good. And let's talk a little bit about earnings, because that's what everyone's interested in. So, I probably earn on average around $500 a month from renting out my car. It dipped down here during Corona. But in total, so I figured, I could sell this car for $3,500, or I can start a business with this third car. And so already, I already made, in the half year that I've been doing this, $2,750. So I'm slated to make $5,000 on this car this year. And I think I'll make more because, again, that dip happened because of Corona. So I think, I'm going to be making more in this year than I would have made just selling it outright. And then it's just going to keep giving me dividends. And, that 130,000 mile requirement is only to list the car. If you list it and it goes to 131,000, it doesn't matter. As long as you list it before the 130,000 miles, you're okay.
So I think on a lot of people's minds is how to handle insurance on a Turo card. How does that work?
So insurance, while the car is being rented, it is covered via Turo. In New Jersey, while it's parked in your driveway, you're supposed to have insurance. So I personally insure my car, pretty much 24/7. But if it were to get into an accident, it should be covered through Turo. There's different options that you can have with Turo too, the Turo insurance. What I currently have is, so it affects your earnings. Right now I have $1 million third-party liability insurance coverage with my Turo vehicles. So as long as damages don't exceed $1 million, I'm covered via Turo. And then there's more deductible type damages. So I kind of have the least amount of coverage on my Turo. So here, if you're looking on YouTube, you can see this sliding scale. And this is based on the earnings you want. So the most earnings you can have is 85%. So if you have 85% earnings, so you get 85% of the cut and Turo gets 15%, you have the least amount of insurance coverage though. Your deductible is $2,500. So out of pocket, you're going to have to pay $2,500. And if it's over that, then Turo will cover it. If you go to the latter part of the sliding scale and only take 60% of your earnings and Turo gets 40, then you have $0 deductible. They'll cover every single penny. And a lot of other things are included, like exterior wear and tear, replacement vehicles, things like that. So, but my car isn't even worth, well, it is worth $2,500, but not much more than that. So I figured just get the maximum amount of profit as possible, maximum cut as possible. And that's what I did. So
let's talk about cleanliness next. Keeping your car clean and also cleaning it out after someone's been in there that hasn't kept it clean.
Yeah, so actually the very first guest I had, I was so excited, she just rented it for 4 days. This is great. I just made a couple $100. This is really going to work. And then I got the car back and it smelled like someone was smoking weed in there. And I was just like, this is terrible. My very first time. And I was like, what do I do? and I forget what I did. I tried like cleaning with all this vinegar and all this stuff. Febreze, and it kind of worked, but it was just masking the smell, and it was stinky and whatever. Anyway, I ended up getting it cleaned. I found later on to use like this ozone spray, and I eventually got an ozone machine. Ozone, so it's an ozone generator. Ozone kills like the smoke smell, it completely gets rid of it. And so I found on like Turo forums, like people actually like when people smoke in their car because they can just charge a blanket like $150 extra fee. They'll do 20 minutes of ozone and it'll be, like a brand new car again. Anyway, so I got that first car rented. I got it back and I was like, oh, this is terrible, And then I was like, but I guess I already have it on here. Let's see. And then second car, third car, always came back clean. Fourth car came back clean. Ninth car came back clean. In the 20 times that I've rented it out now, only twice. That first time, it smelled like smoke, weed, whatever it was. And then another time in between. I think it was probably like 12th or 13th time I rented it out. It smelled like weed again. But again, now I got that ozone machine, so I have it set up where I can just, have it generate ozone for 20 minutes and that smell goes away. Other than that, I haven't had any accidents, haven't had any scrapes or things of that nature. I do have a friend who does Turo. He has like a fleet of 30 cars. This is his full-time gig. And he says he only gets... So with 30 cars, he gets one accident a month, actually. And he's able to usually just work it out with the renter somehow. He usually just tries not to get the insurance involved and tries to work it out with the renter. So I haven't really come across that yet, but I guess eventually it will likely happen, and I'll have to negotiate that with the renter of the vehicle. But in terms of cleanliness, other than, I haven't had, people trashing the car, leaving their trash and everything around, coffee spills and stuff, not really. Other than the two smoking things, that was the biggest deal. I do, to get the car, have a car wash. It seems like after every fourth or fifth rental. I think I've only washed the car 3 times since I've started this 6 months ago.
How about interior vacuuming?
Yeah, I've done it maybe again 3 times. It just doesn't seem to, people just use it as an A to B car. They're not really lugging things around. But maybe that's just the type of car it is. If I was renting out a minivan, it might be different, or a pickup truck or something.
It depends on the color of the upholstery probably as well.
Yeah.
So would you recommend for someone to use this if this is their primary car and they're thinking, maybe every couple of days I can rent it out? Or do you think it's better to reserve this if you happen to have a spare car sitting around that you weren't planning to use anyway?
Yeah, I think for a spare car, it's perfect. I think if you want some extra money and you want to create some kind of passive income instead of, working an hourly job, and you want to generate more, and you don't use your vehicle maybe on weekdays. So just block all the weekends on your calendar and just make it available during the week. And that's a great way to make extra money on a car that would just be sitting there because you don't use it on weekdays. So yeah, I think it's perfect for anyone who has a vehicle, and you want to make some extra income and you have a set schedule where you don't need the car. Just, list it on Turo and just make those calendar days available. I'm going to have a link in the description where you can sign up under my reference link, referral link. I think you get $50. I get a little something too. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to guide you. And I think that's pretty much all I want to share. Is there any other questions a newbie might have?
I think you just about covered it.
Yeah, so I think it's a great business. It's very exciting to me, recently, now that things are a little settling down and we're I don't know about any more rental properties, but maybe I'll start my own fleet. So I've been looking, because I've been, I have a lot of experience buying used cars for a great price. So I figure if I can make my own fleet of this, it might be a fun little side hustle to go on. So it's something that's very interesting, very intriguing, and I think a lot of people can put to use. So I'd highly recommend it. I've tried it out in 2 locations now. Before I was close to the city, so I thought maybe that's why it was so popular. But I moved 40 minutes away from the city now, and it's still getting rented pretty regularly. It's been rented for the last week. It's going to be rented for another week in a few days. So, I feel like opportunities are endless. Give it a try. Good luck, everyone. Thanks, and Godspeed.